So something kind of exciting happened last week. The Guardian, which is a news outlet, started a new Childfree series. Now, I haven't watched it yet. I wanted to watch it when it came out. However, I wanted to actually do a reaction video to it because I am very curious to see how they represent men and women who have made the choice to not have any kids. Because they are calling it a series, I am assuming there are going to be multiple videos coming out. I don't know that I'm going to react to every single one of them, but I definitely wanted to react to this one because it's the very first one. The video has been on their YouTube channel for a week now. I have high hopes because it's been viewed 280,000 times. It has 15,000 thumbs up and only 550 thumbs down. If you want to watch the full video, it will be down in the description box below, and I believe there is also an article which I will link to. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Hannah, wife without kids. I believe that having kids is a choice and not a social obligation. So I've created this channel to be a positive and non-judgmental community for those of us who have made the choice to not have any children. I'm excited to watch this because, like I said, I have not watched this yet, so let's get started.
The world perceives child-free women in the most negative light possible.
I think it's not a need for women anymore. We don't need to have children. We find that our own happiness is more important, our own mental health is more important.
We have been called selfish. We've been called narcissists, which is kind of strange.
I do have a coworker who recently had a baby. All of my other coworkers were like ogling over him and making silly faces, and I'm just like typing away on my computer.
I feel like that's me when there's like a new baby or someone brings a new baby to the office. You feel impolite if you don't go and say hello, but I'm kind of the person that's like, oh, that's nice. Everyone else who's really excited about the baby can go like, you know, pinch the cheek and do all the crazy things that you do to babies. And I'll just continue on working because that's what's more comfortable. Right away, I love that they're having women of different ages, women in their 20s, 30s, 40s, because I feel like that's a pretty good representation. I'm assuming there are not going to be any men because it says they are going to be speaking to 5 women, and so I guess there's no men in this one, which, I mean, there could be a video with men, but that's okay.
When it comes to when I knew that I didn't want to have children, it's hard to say only because I don't remember ever feeling like I did. I don't know what the feeling is like to want to have children. You know, when I am in groups and there are persons talking about wanting children, I don't know how to respond.
I completely agree with what she said. If you've always known that you don't want kids, you never really had this like moment where you're suddenly like, yes, that's it. That's the moment I didn't want children. You just kind of always know that you don't want them. Also, I really like the plants that she had in the background, and I noticed them mostly because I can't keep plants alive, but her plants looked really healthy and like they were thriving under her care. A skill I wish I had.
In middle school, one of my friends, she said she never had the desire to have kids, and she said that, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that that was an option. And when she said that, I was like, I don't know if I want to have kids either.
I think that's really true. Not having kids is never presented as an option. It's more like when you become a mom, when you have kids, rather than giving people the option of, hey, you know what? You actually don't have to have kids. You can choose either, and either is okay.
What really sealed the deal for me was my time as a teacher and my time as a nanny. I remember feeling 2 different ways about my students. One was that I wanted to adopt them all and keep them and take care of them and love them and nurture them. And then the other part of me was like, oh my gosh, this is all day, every day. And that's when the first seeds of maybe this isn't for me started to spring up.
When you're a teacher and you're around kids all day, I think you would probably have a pretty good idea of whether or not you wanted children after being around other people's all the time.
I knew for sure that having kids was not what I wanted to do because of my gut instinctive reaction, which was kind of like illness, kind of like a tunnel that just shot out in front of me and looked very, very dark.
That's an interesting perspective. I feel like that's not one that I can maybe necessarily relate to, but it's also one that's obviously very real for some people.
I find it very interesting that a lot of the people who do give me pushback on not wanting to have kids are women. If you are a woman and you don't understand why somebody else doesn't want to have kids, learn about it, ask about it. Don't immediately like shut them down or think that they're heartless. I don't think that I'm a heartless person.
You're not heartless. She is not heartless for not wanting kids, but it's interesting that that sort of is the conclusion people make. You don't want kids, so that means you're heartless and you're not a very nice person. Just because you don't want children, that doesn't seem to really fit together.
Hands down, responses from women are way worse. With men, it's more like a curiosity, like oh, how did you come to this decision? Women see it as an invitation to convince me otherwise. It's, oh, not right now, but you want some in the future. What are you going to do when you're old and you're alone? Whatever I want, that's what I'll do.
Regret is another threat also. You'll regret it when you get older. The thing about regret is you don't regret not doing what you don't want to do.
Exactly. She's 100% right on. How can you regret something if you don't want to do it? Doesn't make any sense.
My parents know I don't want kids. They've known pretty much my whole life. I've kind of prepped them already, like, don't ask because you know the answer.
In terms of pressure from my family, I don't get it quite so much from my parents, but I do get it from my grandmother. Pressure to marry somebody Jewish so that I could raise Jewish kids. I understand that she's like where she's coming from, and like I know she just wants the best for me, but at the end of the day, I always end the conversation saying it's my decision, it's my life.
I identify as Afro-Latina.
I think sometimes older generations have a bit of a harder time with younger generations who choose not to have kids, because when you're, you know, our grandparents' generation, you just had kids, and it definitely was probably very rare to find somebody in that era who didn't want to be a parent and who didn't want kids. Whereas now, I think it's, you know, starting to get more accepted. But obviously now the tides are changing. It's been very slow, but people are a little bit more accepting of it with the newer generation, so.
My father is from the Dominican Republic. He has African roots. My mother is from Puerto Rico. So when I think about, you know, if I were raising a child in this world, a big black child in this world, you can't control how other people perceive that.
My mother was bent on me having kids. Oh, they would be so perfect. But I've spoken to them and I've started saying, I'm pushing 40 and my time is up. And I've been saying that since I was 35. I'm now 36. But it seems to work.
My stepmother we were fighting, and she said, you'll see what this is like when you have kids. And I said, I'm never having kids. And she said, yes, you will. You don't know what you want. You'll change your mind. You'll see.
I feel like that's what every single parent says to their kid when they're having a fight or an argument. They'll be like, wait till you have kids. You'll see what this is like. The best comeback is, I'm not having kids. And she's not going to have them, so no, she'll never know what that's like.
You know, what doesn't occur to people is that a 5-year-old could walk up to a grown-up and say, I can't wait to be a mommy when I grow up. And they will never say you'll change your mind. But if a little 5-year-old girl comes up and says, I don't want kids, she's loony. Or she's, you know, she's too young. She can't possibly know her mind.
Exactly. The dating part is obviously a little different for me because I'm already married, but this is still interesting.
Dating sucks. It hasn't become a deal breaker up to this point.
My partner and I were very serious in our relationship once we moved and bought a home. I think he just agreed with my decision not to, more so than anything, because he respects whatever I decide to do with my body, so.
I mean, that's a good thing. It's good that her partner agrees, for sure, and it is a huge decision, so it's really nice that he's respecting her and her choice to not have kids and not putting pressure on her to have kids, because that's just what you're supposed to do. Also, watching this, I'm really kind of glad I'm not in, like, the dating scene anymore. I know that it's a struggle for a lot of people, and it's one of the questions that I actually get. People message me and they're like, hey, do you know where I could find someone that's not interested in having kids? Do you know websites and dating websites for people who don't want to be parents? This can be such a big struggle.
There are lots of other things that make a woman a woman. Caring and nurturing. I love teaching and the passing on of like traditions and culture and knowledge. All that stuff that goes with being a woman. But I don't have to have a child to do that.
Yeah. Why can't women have that independence? Why can't women have all these careers or have these passions that are unhindered by any sort of extra responsibility placed on them?
There's something about women who don't want kids that is, in a way, threatening in the same way a happily single woman is threatening.
You want to have kids?
That's an interesting statement. I've never thought of myself as being a threatening person because I didn't want children. I wish the video would have been a little bit longer because it would have been interesting to see her explain and go into a little bit more detail about that, because I think that's actually a really interesting point.
Kids, that's fine. I need you to respect my life choice not to have kids. It's a two-way street.
Women aren't allowed to necessarily make decisions in a very confident way. We're supposed to just follow a script. And I think because women who have chosen to be childless aren't following that script, it makes people really uncomfortable.
There's no one way to be a woman. We all just want the best for ourselves, so let's all accept that.
Oh, it's over already. Oh man, it was so short. It would be really interesting to see a man in this series because I don't think men are questioned the same way or looked down on, in a sense, the same way that women are. But overall, I actually really enjoyed it.